And we are live. Welcome, everybody. I've been trying to say this since the middle of June. I've probably gotten it wrong on countless baseball shows since then. Welcome to NBA First Look. Today is the first official day for me of the NBA season. We're here. If I'm doing a show, it means the season is here. And shout out to DraftKings, because 2 days ago, they posted contests for opening night. We would have done this yesterday if yesterday wasn't a Thursday. It's not going to get us anywhere to do an NBA First Look show on a night with Thursday night football, particularly when that game is Eagles-Giants. No one's going to care about the NBA. So today, we're on an island. Do we have an NFL show after this at 10 a.m.? Absolutely. But no competition. There's no hockey tonight. There's one baseball game, I think. NBA First Look is here. Friends of the program in chat. Love to see it. I know we're not going to have a huge crowd here today. There's no impetus to see this at 9 a.m. I was dangerously close to doing this at 6:30 this morning, like a process, but I'm quite confident I would have had 4 of you. So I skipped that for right now. So here's what I have, and here's what we can talk about for today. I'm still in the process of creating all of the visuals and things we're going to look at throughout the strategy show this year. I assume the strategy show is just going to be 9 a.m. this year. I can pretty much just, we can have this conversation live on the show right now. My guess is 9. 9 o'clock will lead us right into the 10 o'clock NFL show. I don't think it's going to help us to do the show at 11 because then it's too close. So I assume this is going to be the time for the NBA strategy show moving forward. TBD, though, that's for sure. But we'll have this every morning. Short form content. I don't know if it's going to be contenders. I don't know if it's going to be some sort of NBA perfect lineup, but I'm going to have multiple pieces of additional content. We'll have the deeper dive and live before lock each night. Written content. There's going to be an infinite amount of general NBA conversation, whether it's DFS related, sports betting related, pick'em site related. That's all going to end up on Tails, whether that's me, Eric, Greg. Ben's always in the basketball streets for bets at the very least. Laffy will be in the NBA streets for betting. We'll see him a little bit more on the DFS side once the NFL season ends. I assume, I don't even say we'll assume, for those of you that watched last year for the deeper dive, you're going to see me with DK DFS, who's exceptional. Spags will be around for us as well. We got a lot going on. It's an exciting time to be here. Obviously, we're going to have NBA promos coming up for you guys to subscribe. So keep your ears peeled for that, because we'll be talking about that a lot coming up. I'll try to pop on maybe once or twice before we get to the beginning of the season. If anything happens, we could take a look at this stuff again. But for right now, this is very baseline. Like, obviously, we're not dialed in for these projections. We're going to have some conversations here too. I took my best stab at minutes and rotations I want to be very clear here, just off the top of my head. So we'll dig in situations where some of this stuff will be easy. As you can see on the screen right now, I've got the starters shown for the Lakers. That's not the hard part. The hard part is 8, 9, 10, 11 in the rotation. When you have not seen these teams, when guys are on new teams, when coaches are at new teams. Yeah, Steven, that's a great one. We're going to move these minutes around right now and take LeBron out. LeBron going to miss, 2-3 weeks with sciatica, which Like, in a way, I get it, but like, he could be fine tomorrow. But that's besides the point. We'll make all those changes in here. We'll see how all the data moves around. And we'll try to get an idea of, like, just in general, who are the best dudes. So this is part of a view that I'm building out for us to, be able to look at this stuff a little bit cleaner while we're watching these shows. So I'll have everybody broken down in sections where we'll see starters and rotation players. We've got DNP sections and fringe rotation guys. So like we can keep everybody in the proper buckets. But the first thing that we need to do, like I can just pretty quickly take out LeBron's minutes, send him to the injured section. And then if we're talking who's going to start, it's probably going to either be Vandy or Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart makes the most sense there. I'll move him up there. Give him 21 minutes. Move Vandy from the fringe into the rotation a little bit more. And you can see all the totals auto recalculate for us. So we still have 32 minutes to hand out for this Lakers team. I could probably give Maxi Kleba a couple more. We can give that bump to Vandy as well. We could probably bump Laravia and Dalton Connect. I don't expect, I guess in theory, Jackson Hayes could probably get a rotation. Move Jackson Hayes up into the fringe. We still have 18 minutes to hand out. We already have an 11-man rotation, so. All right. 238 is fine for right now. That covers some of our rounding issues. And this will probably need, a usage bump to Luka Doncic, a usage bump to Austin Reeves. DeAndre Ayton will probably want one. Little bit less interesting there. Let's take a look at these guys. If we assume those minutes are pseudo correct, let's take a look at these guys and see what sort of value is popping up. So if I sort down to just the Lakers, we can get a little bit better of an idea of what this looks like. We can sort by salary here. So Luka Doncic, actually, let me take that off. Since we haven't actually talked about salary, Luka Doncic is going to be your most expensive play for opening night. He's $11K. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is coming in as the only other guy north of 10K. He's 10,300. At least on the surface, it feels like Luka is going to be a better option there. Just simply because of no LeBron. And then we've got three guys in the 9Ks. KD making his Houston debut in Oklahoma City. Hell of a storyline there. It really sucks that Fred VanVleet got hurt. Because Lakers, Golden State, OKC, Houston, if these four teams were all at full strength, this would have been amazing. So you've got Durant at 9,700. You've got Steph Curry at 9,300. And you've got Alperen Şengün at 9,200. Then we start to work our way down. But in terms of the pay-up options, at least right out of the gate, and this is generally pretty commonplace. I mean, it seemed to be the case for Kevin Durant through all of his Phoenix tenure. He's just never a good value option. He's always a little overpriced for what he is in fantasy. His fantasy performance is different than his real life performance. I mean, I feel like we talked about however many games he played last year in Phoenix or the year before as well. On days where Booker was there, and especially on days where Beal was there, all three of those guys were always $800 overpriced and the worst value in their range. It's really weird. And I think that's going to be the case again here for Durant. Because that Houston offense is going to struggle unless Reed Shepherd becomes that dude. Certainly don't have any problems with Steph. $9,200 Alperen Şengün's a real salary, though. That's a big number, man. Now, I think he's going to benefit pretty dramatically from KD being on the floor, because if Alperen Şengün is running stuff, in and around the nail, if KD's not involved, that is going to help the spacing everywhere else, because you clearly have to pay attention to him. And if he is involved, well, it's Kevin Durant. They're probably going to pay attention to him slightly more than they pay attention to Şengün. But if we're talking about pay-ups, I think Luka's just the dude. I have him as the number one point per dollar option at the top of the salary table. And these projections are under projecting Luka Doncic for opening night, because these have not been adjusted for the fact that LeBron is out. I haven't gotten to that point yet. These are just essentially like baseline talent projections for all of these players. But yeah, I've got everything in here now. We've got game logs so that we don't have to jump around and look at all other random stuff. You can see Luka's game logs from the playoffs on the screen right now. We've got per 100 rates, shot estimations and how accurate we think any of this data is. I still have to map stupid accent characters and names. That's why you don't see the EPM ratings here for Luka. But if I hop to like Aaron Gordon, we've got EPM pulled in as well. We're going to have so much data at our fingertips. Shout out. Oh, I got to give this shout out. Shout out Rich Green, man. He and I have not really talked much over these past few months now that NBA is gone. But if you guys don't know, Rich, part of the projections team at Stokastic, coming up for NBA, my assumption is it's going to be a lot of me, him, and Jason Wagner getting all of this NBA data ready for you guys. But Rich, I'm coming, man. We're like a week or two away from daily conversations. Get ready. They're coming back soon. All right, let's get back into the slate here and look at the top. Let's look at just the Lakers now that we touched on like the main salary guys. So obviously Luka looks good. The first guy that we need to talk about on the Lakers side seems like it's going to be DeAndre Ayton. And I think there's a case to be made that he's going to look even better than this in 2 weeks when this sort of data gets updated. Because Ayton's sitting at 6,300 now. Obviously, new team. He's out of Portland. He's now in LA. Tends to play in that like 28, 29, 30, 31 minute range. I have him in for 29 right now. 4.94 fantasy points, or points per, 4.94 value, miles ahead of everybody else on the Lakers. That's a solid value option for DeAndre Ayton. And what I think is like the more important piece here, without LeBron, like he's gonna get more touches. He's an offensive center, not a defensive center. I mean, he's better than the defense they were getting previously, but as a center option, I think that's going to stand out pretty dramatically. Austin Reeves is just going to look fine. Obviously, his rates will go up a bit. Actually, since we haven't done it in a while, let's pull up NBA Wowie, which I'm going to try to rebuild for myself, but that's neither here nor there. All right, so let's say in games that Luka played and Austin Reeves both played, and LeBron James was off the floor, so in this scenario, Austin Reeves played 311 minutes with Luka either on or off, but available. But LeBron definitely not on. Reeves had a 25% usage rate in that scenario. Right now, I got him at 22.5. So that's another guy that's probably going to look a little bit better when he gets a little bit more usage and a mild assist rate bump. What's going to be really difficult for the Lakers is figuring out what the hell the rest of their rotation is. Marcus Smart, Dalton Connect, Vandy, Jake LaRavia, Gabe Vincent. That section's gonna suck. And it's gonna suck for pretty much every team. OKC will be a little different because they're just gonna suck forever. I don't mean as a team, I just mean as like a, how the hell do you project guys 6 through 11? Houston should be pretty easy from a projection standpoint. They just kind of like have their guys or don't. And then Golden State should be relatively easy as well. I think the Lakers are the most confusing team that plays on opening night because one of those guys, you've got Marcus Smart with an MPE at point guard, shooting guard, which let's be very clear here, he's not those two things. Dalton Connect has an MPE at guard forward, which is massive. Vandy's got power forward center. LaRavia's small forward, power forward. Vincent is point guard only, but he is the flat min 3,500, which I think is nice. But the problem here is the value. And even if we want to include Rui on this, 4.2 points per $1,000. Smart's at 4.4. Dalton Connect at 4.1. LaRavia at 4.2. Gabe Vincent at 4.2. All five of those guys are basically projecting in the same way. Your guess is as good as mine on how we're going to get there. Now, obviously, these minutes are going to wiggle around. They're going to change pretty dramatically. These values will move. But to me, this is the biggest swing piece of opening night. Figuring out 6 through 10 for the Lakers, especially with no LeBron James. Everybody's going to want to go to Luka. That's the easiest thing to think of. But here, rotational Lakers will be very, very tricky. But Luka at 51.6 fantasy points at 11K, looking damn good. What's that? 51.6 in 34 minutes? Yeah, 1.2 or 1.52 fantasy points per minute. Do you guys have any Lakers questions? Any thoughts? Anything you guys been thinking about for the Lakers? Again, we're just going to take a real broad look through all of this. It's not like we're running simulations or anything. We're miles from that. And if any news pops up, late next week, we might do this again because I kind of just want to talk about it. But I've spent the past few days just building stuff out so that I can make the strategy show better than it's ever been before. And I think that's where we're at right now. Lakers, Warriors opening night. Now, the Warriors will be even more interesting, I think. I don't know what to make of that team. Because, Steph and Dre and Jimmy are all still really good, but they're all old as shit. Al Horford's old as shit. How do I feel about Ayton fitting in on this team? Stephen Leibowitz, great question. I mean, I think he's a great fit for what they had to do to get him and what they need. I don't think they had many other options. I think this is about the best they could do. I'm probably more of an Ayton guy than most, but he clearly has his warts. I like it, though. They needed something better than Jackson Hayes. I think it's interesting based on his contract status right now, which I guess we could touch on in a second. Honestly, it really just comes down to this. LeBron is going to be a dickhead to him. Now, he's not going to be like Michael Jordan style dickhead and punch him in the face. He'll probably be a little bit more passive aggressive. But it's all about how emotionally he handles it. If he goes out there and works and plays D, he's going to get set up basically better than he ever has before, save for the finals run for the Suns, because obviously Chris Paul is going to set you up well. But he's going to get better looks than he's ever seen coming off of Luka and coming off of LeBron when he's here. it should be a really good year for DeAndre Ayton. Relatively speaking, at least. I like the pickup. But here's why it's really interesting. Pulled up Spotrac here. DeAndre Ayton makes $8 million this year. Now, he doesn't technically make $8. He makes $8 million from the Lakers. He's still getting offset from Portland. $8 million. Player option next year, $8 million. So we're either going to see one of two things happen. DeAndre Ayton plays hard, doesn't cause any bullshit, just kind of tries to fit in. And then the Lakers make that deal. You know, he declines the player option and they make a bigger deal next year. Probably something around like the mid-level exception. Because if he plays well, DeAndre Ayton is obviously not picking up an $8 million player option. That's crazy, especially heading into next year where like teams are going to have some cap room. So that is my expectation. If he's bad, then either they hope that they can trade him because they don't want to deal with him because the contract will be easily movable. I think they can get out of this very easily. And worst case scenario, if you have DeAndre Ayton on the books for $8 million next year, like even if he's as bad as it could possibly be, that's still like Kevon Looney got that money this year. Like, now don't get me wrong, the Pelicans might be the worst organization in basketball. Kevon Looney is signed to the exact same contract as DeAndre Ayton. So even if it goes tits up for the Lakers, it's $8 million. I expect him to probably be on something in the mid-level exception range next year. Whether that's on the Lakers is a different question. Okay, we touched on the Lakers now. Let's hop to the opposite side of that game, and we'll look at the Golden State Warriors. They've had a bit of an off season. So we had the Jonathan Kuminga saga throughout all of the summer, which held off on all of their official signings of Al Horford, of Seth Curry, DeAnthony Melton. I feel like I'm missing one more guy. Somebody else that I can't remember right now. I mean, this is a team that when everybody's healthy, like they're going to destroy shitty teams in the regular season because defensively, these guys are just never going to make a mistake, especially when Draymond and Horford are at the 4-5 together. I mean, they are going to eviscerate people with defensive communication. Offensively, I'm really curious to see what this team looks like. I mean, I don't have to explain Steph. I think they'll start Buddy Hield for the shooting. But Jimmy can't shoot. Draymond can't shoot. Obviously, Al Horford can. So you're going to have two non-shooters out there. But you've got Steph causing havoc. Draymond's a great passer. Al Horford's a great passer. Jimmy Butler is going to have no trouble setting people up with all of this movement. And obviously, Buddy Hield can just hang out and bomb every half-open three that he can find. But shooting will be a problem, especially when they bring out, you know, if Kuminga's on the floor in this scenario, maybe instead of Buddy Hield, like that's bad. That's really bad. I mean, we can kind of show that here. If I pull up Golden State last year, and if we say, let's look at no, that's not the one. Nope, that's not the one. That's the one. All right, Golden State, Jimmy, Draymond, Kuminga. This is how little they want to do this stuff. I can't scroll down any further, but just trust me. They only played 38 minutes last year with Butler, Draymond, and Kuminga on the floor together. 38 minutes with those three guys on the floor together. They were negative 24. So I don't want to look into a 38-minute sample because that's just silly. If you include the playoffs, it jumps to 105. You can kind of see it here. Negative 14 net rating in 105 minutes. They're going to be avoiding that three-man combo a lot because of shooting. I'm interested to see what Quentin Post can look like this year. I think that spacing will help. He could obviously play alongside Draymond or Al Horford, and that's going to be fine. Now, defensively, that's going to get rough. Gary Payton is a defense, no offense guy. Moses Moody just seems to be like a guy that Steve Kerr somehow hates. He'll play for like 2 weeks and then he'll be out of the rotation. So that's always weird. I don't expect to see like Guy Santos or, I don't think Seth Curry is going to be doing anything. I mean, Trace Jackson Davis was a starter last year. I don't know how the hell he gets on the floor now. That's less shoot. Like, he can't play with a lot of these guys. Melton's still hurt, so he's going to be out. I like this Golden State team, but I can see a scenario where their offense is so much worse than you expect, or Steve Kerr finds the proper pieces and the smarts of this team can make up for the lack of external shooting. Anytime that Steph is out, this offense is going to be horrific. It's just going to be really bad. If we look at all right. When Butler and Green, so this is a little interesting. When Butler and Green were on, but Steph was off, they actually played 432 minutes, and they were +7 in that time. 104.5 defensive rating is just shutting people down. 111.5 offensive rating is pretty damn bad. So, on a night-to-night basis, I think Golden State is going to be a different team pretty dramatically. And on days where Steph doesn't play, these guys are going to be awful offensively because he's it. For real offense, he's a plus 5.3 EPM guy. I think we sometimes forget how damn good Steph is still. Heading into this year, the dunks and threes EPM projections for offense, Nikola Jokic is the #1 offensive player in basketball. I'm not telling you guys anything you don't already know. SGA is 2. Same scenario here. We all know that. Steph Curry, at 37 years old, is still the 3rd best offensive EPM guy heading into this season. That's nuts, guys. Absolutely, positively crazy. He's so damn good. But here's the problem. They only have one other guy that's a positive offensive EPM. Jimmy Butler is plus 2.7. Everybody else that I gave minutes to today, negative. Now, negative doesn't have to be bad. It could be just slightly below average. For example, Buddy Hield is negative 0.1. That's an average offensive. 0 means average in this scenario. So Buddy Hield is an average offensive player. I think we could agree with that. Buddy Hield, negative. Al Horford, slight negative. Draymond Green, big negative. Pajemski, negative. Kuminga, negative. Payton, negative. Post, negative. Moody, negative. They have 2 above average offensive players on this team. Now they're drowning in above average defensive players. But I don't know how this ends up working. I really don't. But if we look at it from a slate perspective, I don't like the value of Jimmy Butler right now at 8K. To me, that's a little too expensive. Steph seems fine, but we've got SGA and Luka here. Steph point guard only. I think Draymond is probably the guy I like the most here. I gave him 28 minutes. Power forward center eligible, 5,700. 9 points, 6 boards, 5 assists, 2 stocks. One of the higher value options of the day. I think Draymond is your best option coming out of Golden State. And it's mostly because he can be played at power forward. I think that's really helpful. Now, you're going to need more minutes for Al Horford at 5,500 for him to look good. Podziemski at 6,600 is overpriced. Jonathan Kuminga at 5,900 strikes me as overpriced. I don't like Golden State at all from a DFS perspective. So, chat, let's ask you guys. And by the way, hit the like button if you haven't done that yet. I know we don't have a huge crew here, but anything you could do there will help me out tremendously. Ken, glad you're here. Coach Chris, glad you're here. What do you guys think about this Golden State team right now? Because from a DFS perspective, when we get to the opening night, I don't think we're going to have a lot of these guys. I mean, let me add the Lakers in here and just show you guys from a value perspective where we're at. Don't overreact to that Gary Payton one. In fact, I'm going to take 2 minutes off of Gary Payton, just so he doesn't show up at the top. Draymond and DeAndre Ayton, 2 best values in this game. I think that's very clear. I think the thing that stands out most here is that Luka Doncic is third. Even at 11K, he's a good value, and he's under projected right now. I'm knocking Gary Payton down 2 more. He's just showing up too high, and he doesn't even have to play. There we go. I don't think there's a ton of value in this Golden State LA game. At least not right now. There's heavy variance on the Lakers side. I would not be surprised at all if the Golden State Warriors are the lowest owned team on opening night. But the Lakers will be the team that gets you a more unique build. You know what I should do here? Since we haven't talked about it. 1, make sure you're following along on OddsShopper and Tails. I'm going to be posting so much stuff to Tails through the NBA season. Whether it's like contenders type content, potential lineup cores, news, potentially, if somebody gets ruled out, quick post about how that team looks different when that guy's out. So like, let's say that LeBron news came out at 4:00 on opening night and not already. If you're following along with me, you might get a post that shows the Lakers projections before and after those changes. But it's not just me. We have a picks feed here if you're looking for bets. And you can just, this is totally free, costs you nothing. If you want to browse to specific sports, you can do that. If you want to browse to specific bet types, you can do that. It's just a sea of recommended picks and people you can follow. But you can see guys like Lofty, Jake, Eric, Ben, myself. We're all here giving it out every day. Costs you absolutely nothing. You can subscribe to some of these guys. I mean, Eric's got a massive sports betting package here. All of his results are tracked if you're ever looking for them. But if you wanted to sign up, just click on Eric, click on VIP access, sign up for one of his packages. It's all right here. But you don't want to miss OddsShopper and Tails, guys. Links in the description of this video. We're going to have a ton of content coming up. What do I think about the rule change where you get foul for hitting the high five rule? It's awful. It's awful. It's worse. It's so much worse. So we'll see how they actually call it. Well, we've talked Lakers. We've talked Golden State Warriors. Now, let's talk another team. Let's start OKC because I think that's the easiest team to talk about. Your reigning, defending, undisputed champions of the NBA world, your Oklahoma City Thunder, and they are back trying to run it back. The unequivocal odds-on favorite to be the NBA champions and to repeat for the first time since the Golden State Warriors. This team is loaded. Loaded. And if they needed to do anything during the season, they can do it. I did not like their trade deadline last year. Ultimately, it didn't matter, but it came dangerously close to mattering. I was screaming that from the rooftop from February on. I still think they made the wrong move. But in the grand scheme of things, no one's ever going to care because flags fly forever. This is a team that I don't think is going to be very difficult to project in general. But the bottom of this is going to be awful. SGA, J-Dub, Chet, Hartenstein, Dort. More often than not, that is absolutely what we're going to get. Can they swap out Hartenstein for Case and Wallace? Yes. But I think this is what we're going to be seeing. Rate-wise, this is all going to look pretty similar because this is just the same team. Those 5 guys are the same 5 guys from last year. Case and Wallace, Caruso, Wiggins, Joe, AJ Mitchell, Chandler. These are all the same guys. They don't have anybody new. This is the same team. Kenrich Williams is hurt right now. They drafted Thomas Sorber. He blew out his knee. I think he tore his ACL. Could be wrong. Almost positive. Anyway, he's done for the year. Ousmane Dieng, probably not going to play much. Don't think we're going to see a ton of Nikola Topic out of the gate. But, he's still coming back from the torn ACL. So they just have new rookies and then the same damn rotation that blitzkrieged the league last year. This is where it gets tough. And this is just like the Lakers. This is how lineups will be different. Case and Wallace, Alex Caruso, Aaron Wiggins, Isaiah Joe, AJ Mitchell, Jalen Williams with a Y. I don't know how many minutes these guys are going to play. No clue. I think Case and Wallace will play the most. I don't expect Alex Caruso to play much during the regular season. We've already seen that. There's going to be days where Aaron Wiggins plays like he did in 1 or 2 of those playoff games and just airmail threes off the bench. Obviously, Isaiah Joe is one of the better shooters in the league. AJ Mitchell, coming into his second year, looked great as a rookie. And then Jalen Williams is just going to soak up whatever minutes he can when Chet and Isaiah Hartenstein are on the floor. If you followed the NBA last year, you can project Oklahoma City right now. Now, all these minutes for these rotation guys, you could randomize those as far as I'm concerned. We're not going to have a great feel, but starters, at least for opening day, there's no easier team to project than Oklahoma City. It's cut and dry. Because there's nothing new. The best team in basketball, the best defense, to me, in the history of the NBA, is back at full strength to start this season. And if they wanted to, they can trade for anybody in the league. Anything they need, they have the ability to get. And they're already the best team by a mile. OKC. I assume if you're looking at the screen, it should stand out immediately who the best play on the Thunder is for opening night. And it is not close. It is Isaiah Hartenstein. 5,400. I got him projected for 30 fantasy points. That's 5.6x. He's dangerously close to a double-double at 10 points and 9.3 boards. Could he play a couple less minutes and they just want Jalen Williams to get a couple more? Sure. He'll still be a solid value at that point. Obviously, we've got a little bit of competition with DeAndre Ayton on the Lakers side. But from a cost-effective standpoint, I think Isaiah Hartenstein is super easy to get to here. SGA, J-Dub, and Chet might as well be the same guy at different salaries. Chet's like $1,000 cheaper than J-Dub. They're basically the same point per dollar play. J-Dub's like $2,000 cheaper than Shea. Basically the same point per dollar play. I think you're just going to rotate through those three guys and you're not going to care too much which one's which. J-Dub having just small forward is disgusting. He's one of the few guys in the league that guards 1 through 5. And he's only a small forward? Really? Really? Come on now. That's nuts. It's insane that Dort is just shooting guard. The lack of MPE on OKC is a mild limiting factor. Like, imagine if Lou Dort, who looks like a great point per dollar play at 4,400, was shooting guard small forward instead of just shooting guard. That's like 15% more ownership on opening night. It's so silly. It's so silly. But like, I don't know how you go to Caruso on opening night. I just couldn't trust that. Your Wiggins, Joe, AJ Mitchell, Jalen Williams group is not going to look great as a point per dollar option. But one thing I want to point out, look at these salaries. Aaron Wiggins is $5K. Isaiah Joe is $3,400. At the very least, the expectation is those guys are going to play similar minutes. It's way easier to get to Isaiah Joe. AJ Mitchell at 3,800 is like an interesting value. Cason Wallace is probably too expensive at 5,100. I want a lot of the starters. I don't really want a lot of the bench. What do you guys like for OKC this year? Or for this slate? I don't think there's too much to say here because it's the same team. This is the one thing we don't have new stuff to talk about. Steven Leibowitz said, not on this slate, but do y'all see Wemby grew 2 inches from last season? That dude's terrifying. I pray that man can stay healthy. I just want to see what it looks like if he doesn't have to deal with health bullshit. I don't know how you stop him. Because it's not even, like, defensively, it's not close. He's the best defensive player, so much so that I don't think you could put anybody second. Like, that's how big the gap is. I don't know what happens when he becomes, like, a plus offensive guy, too. When all is said and done, I'm not talking about a career, because that's a different conversation. But when all is said and done, I don't know how we don't look at peak Wemby as the greatest basketball player that's ever played to this point. When he hits, if he's healthy enough to hit whatever the hell his apex is, I mean, he's Jokic. He's going to be like Jokic offense, Tim Duncan defense type dude. Like, what the hell does that end up being? This is going to be a guy that's going to, like, I don't, he's a broken human being. And I'm here for it, man. I can't wait to see it all. Yeah, I don't mind Chet either, Steven. I'm with you there. The fact that he has power forward center is really helpful. I just don't think he looks any different than the top stuff. He's probably a little easier to get to if your team Luka. Then I think you start to see Chet a bit more. When he starts to fill out more, that will help. He needs to eat donuts with me. I'm not saying he's going to have the best career ever, but like if he's healthy for a full year at like 27 and this projects the way that it does, we're not even going to understand his stat lines because we've never really seen anybody do it on offense and defense like that. What are we doing if he's shooting 10 threes per 100 possessions, making like 37% of them, shooting 1,000,000,000% at the rim? Well, Chris, that's a different conversation. Yeah, I'm not talking about like career accolades or anything. Just if he has a full season at his peak, I don't think there's ever been a player in the league that could have an even remotely comparable stat line. That's sort of what I mean. The rest of that sort of conversation is, team results. How did this work? How did that work? But I mean, already he's a +1 offense dude. He was +2.4 last year. What is this going to be when it's +5, +3.5? He blocked 10.5% of shots last year and is an above average steal guy. He shot 35% from three. Like, he's always going to shoot 70-something% from the rim. He took 9.5 threes per 75 possessions. What happens when that's 12? And his true shooting is like 62. We've never seen anything of what this can be. And I'm here for it. The dude's 21. I love it so much. All right, enough about Wemby. Let's touch on Houston, because that's an actual interesting team. Because this is a team that actually has talking points. This is a team that was legitimately in the title conversation until the moment Fred VanVleet blew out his knee. And now they're not in that conversation at all. So now we have to integrate Kevin Durant to a team without a point guard. Is Reed Sheppard ready for it? I'm going to say this right now. As a Reed Sheppard guy, the answer is no. The answer is no. But I'm anxious to see what he can be. Your other option is Aaron Holiday. That's a seat filler. Şengün's going to do a lot of creation. Amin Thompson's going to do a lot of creation. Is he ready for it? I would argue no. Not that I don't think he's awesome. He's a, top 10 type defense guy. Organizing an offense on a real team is a different thing. This dude's young. He's going to have a lot of growing pains. He's going to barf that ball all over the floor. There are going to be nights where he's insane. I'm a huge Jabari Smith guy. As a fifth starter on a good team, play defense, hopefully make some threes. Big fan there. I don't know how they're going to create offense and get the ball up the floor. That's going to be a struggle. These dudes are so long and defensive. Şengün, obviously a huge body. Durant, long. Amin Thompson is like the most long of all long dudes. Jabari Smith, defensive stalwart. Tari Eason, defensive stalwart. Steven Adams, Haas. Dorian Finney-Smith, defensive guy. Josh Okogie, defensive guy. They're not going to be fun to score against. Getting to the rim is going to be a chore. But not having Fred VanVleet as that point of attack defender is going to be worse. Look, we're going to see nights where Reed Sheppard looks good. And he's bombing threes, and the shots falling, and you see why he ended up being the draft pick that he was. There's going to be a lot of nights where he is just not ready for it. Guards suck when they're young. All of them. None of them are ever good. Every once in a while, you sneak somebody into like being decently average. We should expect this. It's not new. It's not foreign. We're not confused by it. Young guards are always dog shit. Because these guys have been going against... They've always been better athletes than everybody they've been on the floor with. And then you get to the NBA and it's just different. And you have to learn how to play in that. But he's going to be biting off a lot more than he can chew. And I just don't know how they're going to create all of this. So let's look at the rates here. Point guards or young guards in general? Both. Both. It doesn't mean they can't be good in like year 3 or 4, but like young guards just have bigger growing pains because they're just not big and strong enough to handle what the NBA truly is. It takes time. Like, here, I could probably give a mild example. Coach Chris, I see you mentioned Derrick Rose. I assume this goes back far enough, but I don't know that for sure. Yeah, like Derrick Rose, rookie year. Plus 0.5 offensive EPM, -2 defense. Like defense for rookie guards is always going to be like, you're probably one of the worst defenders in basketball. Yeah, Scoot Henderson, great example. It's going to take time. Even Derrick Rose's second year, he played 159 games in 2 years. He got to +1 on offense that second year, and then you saw the explosion. But if we look at like, I'm just going to pick a random year. We'll go 2018, 2019, just for poops and ha-has. And let's say years of service is... So that's like Luka's rookie year, plus 2.1. Now, obviously, he's a unicorn of all unicorns. But if we look at just like guys that played a lot, Colin Sexton, minus 1.4 on offense. Trey had such a big assist rate that he was able to salvage, but obviously first percentile defense. Mikal Bridges, negative 1.4. Kevin Huerter, negative. SGA, played all 82 games. Negative 1.1 offensive EPM. 5 guys had a positive offensive EPM that year. Luka Doncic, Marcus Derrickson in 6 minutes a game, doesn't count. Trae Young, Landry Shamet, DeAndre Ayton. Everybody else below it. You're going to have somebody sneak through each year and be decent. You shouldn't expect it, though. We see a little bit more value on a point per dollar basis for Şengün. Going to be right around that double-double. I expect to have very little of Durant. I think he's probably one of the worst options you can get to. Relative to salary, that is. Not that he can't succeed. Amin Thompson will be interesting, but I don't expect him to project as any sort of crazy value. Tari Eason's going to be a question mark. Small forward, power forward, eligible 20. I got him in for 24 minutes at 5,300. I have Tari Eason right now as the best value play coming out of Houston. Whether that holds or not, I don't know. Minutes could come down to 21 and that will change. But I find him to be the most interesting value option right now. And I think the second most interesting option is twofold. And it kind of just depends on what risk you want to take. Do you want $4,900 Reed Shepherd with an MPE? Or do you want $3,800 Aaron Holiday with an MPE? I tend to think the answer is Holiday. Because I think whenever Reed Shepherd struggles, they're just going to give Aaron Holiday the keys because they know that he can organize things. So, like, let's say I had it projected for 24 minutes, Shepherd, 20 Holiday. I think it's very easy for those two numbers to flip-flop. And then Aaron Holiday is like one of the best value plays of the day, if not the best. So I find Aaron Holiday to be the most interesting guy on Houston in terms of value at 3,800. That circles back to somebody had a question about, Ken had a question about near min salary guys. Aaron Holiday would probably be one of those dudes. If we want to look at it quickly, I could look at the whole slate. These are... I built out some filters to get to this stuff kind of quickly. So this is just anybody that's 70th percentile or higher in value for the slate. So 12 guys. Isaiah Hartenstein is the clear dude. Obviously, that can change. And then we have Lou Dort, Draymond, and Ayton as the three next best values. You can see there's a pretty clear line in the sand here after Ayton. But Dort at 4,400 would make for a decent value option. And everybody else is sort of in the same range. You can kind of say that Eason and Doncic are there. Obviously, Luka, a very different kind of value at 11K. But if we're talking about true paydowns, it's probably Aaron Holiday for me as like a interesting paydown option. That could look better. Guys, this is fun. I got to let you know, though, we are done here. We've taken our first look through each team playing on opening night. We looked at salaries and projections. It's a very generic look. We're obviously going to dig into this one big time by the time we get to the season, and I'll talk about it a little bit more over the next few weeks. NFL Strategy Show is coming up next live on this YouTube channel. If you want to see what Laffy and the boys are cooking up for this Sunday, make sure you're watching the NFL Strategy Show just after this one. Make sure you're following me on Twitter at Josh Engleman for all announcements of anything that I'm going to be doing. I've been posting team previews every single day to my Twitter. Written articles. We're like halfway done at this point. Another one will be coming out every single day until we get to the beginning of the season. I'll have my final wins projections. I'll have MVP, Rookie of the Year, champs, Eastern Conference, Western Conference. I'm breaking it all down before this season starts. But today was the first look. Thank you guys for being here. This was absolutely awesome. I'm so happy to be back. October 21st is coming soon. I'll see you guys in 11 days.